Welcome to LinkedIn Live and a special edition of the Power Lunch. I'm Rhett Power, your host. For the next few weeks, instead of my regular show, I'm going to be doing hosting a special series called Quarantine Conversations, because I'm in quarantine and probably the rest of you are as well, self-imposed right now. And today I have two shows. I have one today at 1 p.m. or approximately 1 p.m. and then one at 3 p.m. A panel of experts to talk about leadership during a crisis, and we're going to talk about what is required for you as a leader and what you need to be doing to help your teams and your employees and your organizations through this crisis that that's impacting us all. Now, these are interactive conversations. I'll be trying to do two things at once, which is monitor social media and facilitate the conversation. But I will be checking online to see if you have questions and comments. We want your questions. We want to be able to help you with the issues that you're facing, because a lot of other people are probably facing the same issues. So please do ask your questions online. We're broadcasting this on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and a couple others. So you have plenty of places to ask your questions and watch. And I'll try to monitor the feed. Now, today, I have a great panel. I have Bob Glazer. He's the CEO of global performance marketing agency Acceleration Partners. He's co-founder and chairman of Brand Cycle. He's a best-selling author of Elevate, which is a new book, just came out late last year. And Push Beyond Your Limits and Unlock the Success in Yourself and Others. That's the title of the book. I've got Alisa Cohn. She's a Thinkers 50 Marshall Goldsmith, #1 startup coach in the world, a global guru, top 30 coach. Her work focuses on executive presence, influence, corporate politics, decision-making, and she's been featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and a lot of other places. And Mo Kasti. Mo is CEO, coach, and speaker. He's a founder of CTI, an Inc. 5000 fastest growing company, and founder of the Physician Leadership Institute, and considered a thought leader in healthcare, transformation, leadership, and innovation. Guys, thank you for being on the program today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Lots of questions, but I'll start with Alisa. What do you think the key is for leaders in this time? I mean, what do you need to be doing right now to help sort of give your team confidence that you have a plan, confidence that you're going to get through this?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, thanks, Rhett, and thanks for having me. I would say that I work with a lot of startups, and I think step one is to actually know you have to have a plan. So being intentional and being purposeful and recognizing this is like no other situation, and realizing that and making that departure, and then having plans for communication, for what you're going to do, and having a plan to engage your team. So one strategy that I've asked all my clients to do is to think about a daily stand-up meeting with their leadership team, and then have their teams do daily stand-ups with their leadership teams, virtual, by video. Here we all are seeing each other. That is the most powerful way to really convey confidence, and also create a context and a community for people to talk to each other and listen to each other, because community and like social support is also super important now more than ever.
Yeah. Bob, what do you think?
Yeah, I think communication is always the #1 problem. So I think in most relationships, I think communication is really important. I think having a plan. I think people, one of the things that I read, someone said, look, if you're hoarding toilet paper and it reduces your anxiety, then that's good, because people need something to do. So I think it's important for us to channel, to our employees, like what they can do, the actions they can take, get them focused on the collective. I agree with Alisa. I think every CEO I am in a forum with having a stand-up meeting every morning. Even at night, they're doing probably stuff they wish they'd done years ago. They're doing video messages to the team and just trying to communicate well. I think the leaders, particularly in politics, that have created panic has all been from communication errors. And I think it's critical that we kind of learn from those and take the things that worked and didn't work and try to apply it within our companies. The truth, people want the truth, right? And so I think we got to deliver that, but then also, again, where can they help? What can they control?
Mo, what do you think?
So I agree with Robert and Alisa. I think that the key, though, is starting with empathetic communication and really acknowledging that people are concerned, and not just continue to talk about just the business side of things, because on the hierarchy of needs, people are concerned about their safety, they're concerned about their family. So being able to sometimes just connect with people on a human being level is really the starting point, so people understand that everybody is in it together. And then talking about a plan, I think it's the aspects of agility right now. There's nobody that could have predicted this, and anybody could say, yeah, I had a plan for this. It was like, no,
That's right.
There's no truth in that. But what you could do is you can really always have an agile strategy. It says strategy is like water. It moves with the terrain it finds itself into. And us as leaders is be willing to engage our team right now in agile design and agile, and like, okay, well, this didn't work. All right, let's try this thing tomorrow. And then this didn't work, let's try this. And being able to be vulnerable in this moment right now is critical for us to say, look, we're going to get through this. The confidence is key, but then be willing to say, hey, I don't have it all the answer, because that's the biggest mistake for us as leaders, is to walk in and say, I get it. All the under, and it's like, no, it's like we got to figure out how we enlist our team right now and try and figure out all the components, because there's no one person that got the answer.
Yeah, that's true. I was on a call this morning, and somebody said something to me that really stuck out to me, and it was General Tom Kolditz. I think I mispronounced his name, but he said that you had to have credibility in the tank going into this,
Right.
to be really effective.
Yeah.
And what do you guys think about that? Anybody, go ahead. Anybody want to jump in?
Well, by the way, it's great to have credibility in the tank. Like, that's always a good answer. And in times of crisis, you have to have that so that the team will kind of give you a break when you inevitably make mistakes. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I think this is an opportunity to put credibility in the tank by being transparent, by being consistent, having rituals, also showcasing moments of levity. I've encouraged all my CEOs also to do like a tour of their virtual workspace. Bob's folks work at home regularly. My clients usually come into an office. So like showing each other their workspaces and making it, in some ways, not just all pain. Those are some ways to put credibility in the tank right now.
Yeah. So it's an opportunity. In other words, it can be a real opportunity.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's funny that, we always work on, as leaders, is realizing that trust is the number one aspect, and you're not going to call on it until these type of moment of difficulty. It's like, if we haven't taken the time to build trust with our team members and our clients and our suppliers, this is the time where we're going to regret it, because right now everybody is at a high level of concerns. And if I don't trust you, I'm not going to be able to be collaborative with you. And this is the time to really realize that you better keep that say and do ratio very close to each other.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't promise anything that you cannot deliver. But make sure that you promise things that are going to be doable. And if it doesn't work, admit it and just go to the next plan B. But the trust level is going to be so important right now.
Yeah, well, one thing focused on is sort of the stoicism of, look, we are where we are, and really getting people on innovation. I've seen more innovation out of our team in the last 5 days in a long time. I mean, it is new ideas. Who's winning? We're in a very interesting, fluid marketplace where people are losing, but people are winning. We work with a lot of the companies that deliver and stay home, and they're choking on demand. So getting everyone to innovate. I've just seen awesome stuff to what Alisa said. Like, we have a bunch of Slack channels going. One of them's like parenting ideas, and people are putting up their lesson plans for the day and pictures from their homeschool and their schedules. Like, it's actually my most fun channel to go through right now. And then there's an ideas channel where anyone can put an idea and then someone jumps on it. So really, we're really trying to channel innovation, because I also just think that is empowering, right? There's just no point. I was saying to someone last night, even before Massachusetts closed down, I'm like, if you're a restaurant right now, you should be learning Grubhub, you should be learning Uber Eats, you should be taking pictures of your sanitation, you should be taking all your tables out and building a delivery operation and telling all of your friends about it. Like, there's no sense sitting there kind of bemoaning, what you can't control. And we're seeing these businesses. My favorite example was my wife's favorite yoga teacher. The studio had to close. He did this class from his living room on Facebook Live on Saturday. A bunch of families all did it. He had never done it before. They figured it out in a day. They asked for donations via Venmo. I looked this morning, 3,500 people have watched the class.
Wow.
So, even if a bunch of those people give $10, I love seeing people trying to innovate, but innovate in solving a need for someone else that's real.
Yeah. Yeah, I would, Bob, that's beautiful. And the way you just frame that around innovation and people coming together, it's kind of exciting. And I would just add, what a time for experimentation, right? This sense of like, well, it may not work, but what the hell? And experimenting more with technology, with video. Again, a number of my CEOs haven't been doing video town halls. Well, they're getting on Zoom right now. And also framing it as a change, a departure, an experiment. And so it gives us more permission to realize that we're in a fluid environment. Mo, you talked about, this notion of it being fluid like water. That's, I think, also the agile mindset that is taking over right now.
Yeah. I was
there's
just reading something from Arlington, this little newspaper in our little area, and a couple of the restaurants that are shutting down, they're going to open up community kitchens so they can feed kids who are out of school.
Yeah.
Talk about ingratiating yourself to the community and winning. Winning. That's winning right there. That's gonna come back to them tenfold after this.
There's a term we like to use a lot, like, instead of brainstorming, let's just try storm. If you try something, 24 hours. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, dump it, get to the next one.
Really great.
That's just keep try-storming right now. This is the area for innovations and ideas. And this is truly, actually, Bob was talking earlier about this. We're going to look back at this and write a lot of articles and books about it. I think one of them is how an event accelerates innovation.
Definitely.
The paradigms from we had some kind of a solution for a problem and we were adding value, and all of a sudden the problem either goes away and a different problem shows up. So value does not start until there's a breakdown. So now the breakdowns are just changing by the minute. And so you just have to accelerate your innovation with there. So this is the opportunity to look at, there's going to be some positive things coming out of this.
Yes.
People connecting on a personal level, people doing this type of conversations that probably, we would not have not occurred if we were all doing our daily work.
Yeah.
So let me ask about emotional leadership in this, because I look at it. I was thinking about this morning. I tend to think of crisis leadership about it being about communication and information, but it's also about emotional leadership, right? And it's also about, and maybe that's easier for people who are very dynamic dynamic people and outgoing and we all know the personality types, right? But how do you, in this sort of emotional, and because this is an emotional event, what does emotional leadership look like? What can you do from an emotional standpoint to support your team?
I think you need to amplify, your the worst thing you could do is try to be something you're not. Yeah. And so you should amplify your strengths. And I think there are leaders out there that are better, on video versus better orally versus better written. And I would really tell people, I think they should lean into their strengths and do what they do best. Don't, who are they authentically? Trying to be someone else or trying to emulate someone else probably won't work for them. So like, look, I did a video to the company this morning because I thought it was important. I haven't, like, a little out of my comfort zone, but like, if I really like, if I've liked writing better, then I should write. If I could provide more comfort with a well-written piece, then I should communicate that way. So I think it's, I think we know authenticity wins. I think it's good to put yourself out of your comfort zone, but I think you should play to your strengths.
Okay.
Yeah, it's finding that balance. I think that's right. And I would add, the first person you lead every day is yourself. And so it's really about how are you getting up in the morning and throughout the day, checking in with yourself. This is a crisis for your people, but guess what? It's a crisis for you too. All my CEOs I work with are in various forms of just recognizing the situation with their business, right? Whether it's an opportunity, whether it's a major threat. The startups I work with, some of them are about to land more funding. It has completely changed the game for them, and not in a good way. Some of them really rely on this in-person experience, right? So the game is over for them, and so it's a crisis for their teams. But they also have to really acknowledge the crisis for themselves and get in the right headspace so they can be headspace, and I would say heart space, so they can be more strategic and then present. Rhett, like you're talking about emotional leadership, and the truth is that people in companies look up to the leader, right? I want to kind of say like a parent sometimes, a little bit like that. And so you really want to be able to convey a presence and the ability to listen and the ability to empathize, even through video, even through phone. So sort of thinking about how do you be a sort of a deeper listener, I think is like an important skill to double down on right now.
Yeah.
This is where self-awareness and character is going to really have to be amplified. This is where when we coach other leaders and knowing it for ourselves, we always say that we along the way will be tested.
Yeah,
this is the best test for every leader. How do you show up right now in a time of difficulty where emotions are very high? Right. And that puts more stress on you as a leader, in the sense of that you have to also realize that your energy is going to drive the rest of the team's energy.
Yeah.
And but being also, like Bob said, you have to be authentic and acknowledge that, yeah, it is a difficult time, and not trying to be somebody else and say, I get it all under control, you shouldn't worry about it. And it's like, no, balance optimism with realism.
Yeah.
And don't just be way too optimistic that people will start disbelieving that you got those things. And so during this difficult time, we have to show up. Our character and who are we made of is going to have to happen. And we get a lead from the front. This is not the time to lead from the back. People are looking for, are you there? Are you ready to lead? Can I trust you?
Do you know what's going on?
Right.
Yeah.
The business as usual thing. It's a great point. It's really dangerous, right? And if we look at different approaches politically around the world and leaders, I think what has failed is the don't worry at all. I think because as that message has changed so quickly, as someone said before, people have now used up that credibility. And I think you have to be really careful of what you say, even with the best intentions. I wrote that in an article this week, like saying like, I wouldn't say we won't do layoffs, to anyone. I might say layoffs would be our absolute last resort, if we had to save the company. But I think when you start saying stuff like that to try to calm fear in the short term, and 2 days later you're changing your story, I'd be very careful about absolutes in a fast changing situation that we do not control.
Yeah.
Well, that actually is my next question. How do you, because the reality is a lot of companies are going to prosper from this. They're going to innovate. They're going to change their model. They're going to pivot, and that'll be successful. But the other reality is this is going to bury some companies.
Yes.
And so, and people are going to have to make hard decisions to stay afloat, right? Because we don't know what the rest of the first quarter looks like. We don't know what the second quarter looks like right now. And so how do you how do you give the bad news, or how do you prepare people that that's a reality? You don't like it, but I mean, but you kind of hit on that, Bob, a little bit.
Yeah, I just give two quick examples of some friends who had to do this over the weekend. Businesses that had to basically shut down because they can't operate because of the public service, changes. And I think, they either furloughed people or laid them off and said, look, I want to get you, do this quickly. I want to get you on unemployment. I am here for you. We're trying to preserve the business so that when this is over in, 30 or 60 days, there's a job for you to come back to. So I think they were honest. They moved quickly, and they made it clear that they're trying to, that they're trying to be there for them in 60 to 90 days when the dust settles. But they didn't drag it out. It was empathetic. It was fast, and they explained kind of why they had to do it.
Okay, that's a great approach. What do you, Alisa?
I mean, I agree. I agree with all of that. And I also agree with what Bob said about absolutes, especially because we have seen in the past 2 weeks, policies made, policies change, sometimes in the same day. So learn from that and see that it's important when you do take action to take it quickly. And I think the point about empathetic is exactly right, that there's room there also for listening, even as you're telling people bad news, including this is a job loss for you, to recognize that that person is going to talk about it and digest it, and to still have space there to listen and to sympathize and to empathize. And then, of course, do all the things you can to cushion the blow. But I think we're all going to have to also deal with bad news over the next period of time.
Worse than losing a job. I mean, there are going to be deaths, and there are going to be people who pass away. Family members of our team members who are affected, and
that is true. And then to say nothing of the economic fallout, and which is a real thing. I mean, I know that we in New York we've closed Broadway. Obviously, we're closing restaurants and movies. Everything is now shut down and has been shutting down over the past week, and that is the right decision. There's no question. But we also have to recognize the effect it's going to have on these businesses, right? The performers, not out of work, right? The waiters and waitresses out of work. And so I think just leaders have to recognize that we're operating also in an environment of just this feeling of unsteadiness and shakiness, and to deal with, I think, the feelings of the folks around them, because it's just in the air and water right now.
Yeah.
Look, the truth right now is the key. And people on your team are smart people, and they know what's going on, and they understand that, they see when you're not doing any work, or you're not able to be an open restaurant, or you're not able to see clients. It's not a secret that, things are not as usual.
Yeah.
And just tell the truth, share the transparency. And I'm be hosting calls with my team on a daily basis, and we're just, here's what's going on, here's what we're doing, here's what's happening, and so that everybody can come up with either new ideas or understand that we all are trying to do our best to be able to do that. And this is where also, as a business, we always tell people cash is king. Have you planned for those type of situations where it could carry you through hopefully a V-shaped, not a U-shaped recovery, but are we planning for that? Or have we planned at least something in that way?
Yeah. So let's get down into specifics. What are some things that people can do? We talked a little bit about it earlier, Zoom conferences, things like that. What are some other ways that you can communicate? This is rapid. This is moving rapidly, and I think you have to be honest that your plan might change as the environment changes, right? As more things change, you have to build some flexibility into what your plan is. But how can you? What are some other real concrete ways to communicate with your team? Are town halls a good idea? Or how do you get your leadership team involved in it to let them carry some of this with you? I guess I just want to know from you guys what you think people can do now.
I think an easy one is just make themselves available, right? As someone asked me if I could do something recently, and I was like, my office is open 24/7. Saturday and Sunday, Friday, like it's all the same thing. We're all locked at home, right? So it is. I think it's make yourself available. FAQ, town hall, individual questions. I sent out a video note this morning. A bunch of people had follow-up questions. I took some time to answer all those. Honestly. So I just think being out there and also making other people part of the discussion, right? This was brought up before, but we have like task force around everything. Rather than saying, here's our policy on X, how about 4 of the people come back with recommendations on how we should handle this, right? Then you're not feeling like there's this downhill stuff that you're waiting for. You're getting people feeling like they're involved. So we have a task group on just about almost everything right now. And in some ways, they're reporting back to us.
Well, that makes them feel useful, right? It makes them feel like they're part of the solution.
You need to feel powerful. As I said to our team this morning, we're like so lucky that we can show up and go to work because we're in the information economy. Like there are people who are just dying to be useful right now that can't, right? The barbers and the hairdressers and the waitresses and so they have the ability to use their mind and jump in and try to be part of the solution.
Yeah. I love all those tactics that Bob just laid out. I 100% agree. And I would just also add creating rituals. So is it a morning ritual where everybody checks in, maybe with a buddy check-in or kind of with the whole team on Slack? Is there a phrase that you can create? There's still a good moment. Like you could even do a 5-minute in the morning, like little Slack discussion about still your values. I think that values are still really relevant now, relevant more than ever. To kind of continue to create culture and to maintain culture even while everyone's dispersed. So finding the right rituals to help people feel sort of consistent, I think also safe.
Yeah, that's smart. That's very smart.
Share the ritual. We've been using Team from Microsoft as a tool for across the company, and people check in the morning with everybody, and everybody sees it and check in on a regular basis. And I think that just gives people that sense of connection that, even though they're not physically there, but they're able to communicate and connect. The other is being able to connect. Like I would send, here's something in my mind that just I'm thinking about or I'm contemplating, so that it feels like I'm not holding it just by myself. I'm just sharing it with others. And the response has been very positive in the sense of then you can pick it up on the next day when you're having the town hall and say, okay, well, I was thinking about this. What do you guys think? And the more we show up again as the human being that we're in the same boat as you are. You have the same thoughts and concern about our family and community and everything else. And I have also concern and I care about you. And that's the moment. This is the moment for us to either show up for our people and be relevant and concerning and empathetic with what they're dealing with, or this is the time where people are going to look at and as soon as the economy improves, they're going to look for another job. Yeah.
Do we expect the same amount of productivity now that we're in?
I might expect more. Because I think there is this just, Greg McKeown wrote this great book, this essentialism focus right now. I just went through someone's to-do list. They gave me their project list from last week. And it's funny, 5 days later, I was like 80% of them, like, not even relevant for 6 months.
Right.
You can get rid of that. Some article about, how to interview for a job, like, not appropriate now. So, I think this is a great test in essentialism for leaders.
Yeah, it depends which way of productivity, right? I mean, to Bob's point, like what, it's like the day-to-day tasks, it's a little distracting, but if you really decide, you as an individual, as an employee, and certainly as an executive and a CEO, to encourage folks to do this, what are the strategic projects that you've never gotten time for, and suddenly you have extra time? Right. And then how are you going to get really great at time management because you're homeschooling your kids or whatever in the morning? I don't have kids, but I do know that that has become a thing, right?
Right.
So how do you figure out how to chunk up your time in a different way? And by the way, we all have something we didn't have a few weeks ago, which is perspective. Right, figuring out what's actually important. Essentialism is exactly right.
And so it'll help us narrow down what's really important, what's not, and get rid of the stuff that we do that just isn't essential.
Exactly. I'm finishing an article, and I have a big reset button as the picture. This whole event is a reset button for us to clear the deck of clarity of what's important, because like Alisa is saying, well, what is productivity? Everybody's busy, but are we focused on the important thing first? I think this is the opportunity to really reset and saying what is really matters right now, what's important, and then other things. And I think we're going to come back to those ones that are going to be pushed down the list, and we're going to re-ask ourselves one more time, were they really that important?
Right.
Or did we just, and I think it's a reset button for not only for our work, but for our life in general.
Yes.
This is the reset button of what matters the most. Our kids, our family, our neighbors, like people are all of a sudden out at like knowing who your neighbor is versus living all of your life and not knowing who your neighbor is.
Yeah.
Well, I saw something really. It was a great Facebook post this morning, and it said something about, there's more than school education, right? And I've got 2 boys, high school age, and this is an opportunity for me to spend some time with them and do some other things that we don't ever get to do, right? And learn some things, and we haven't spent time talking about family history and different things that we could really spend some fun. We could do some family research now. There's so many projects we could do together that are so much more important than anything else that I could think of in the next month to do. But you're absolutely right. I think it's a great opportunity for that. One of the things that I'm thinking about is how do we treat our clients in this environment? Is it the same way? Do we treat them the same way that we treat our team?
Well, as someone who has clients, I mean, just to say that my point of view is like my door is open right now. Like no matter what you need, this is a shared like end of world experience. And as much as I can be, that beacon and that safe place to like deal with your own emotions. The CEO job is always the loneliest job. They don't have anyone to talk to. It's like, how much more is that true now? And so helping them deal with their feelings, find their own way, their own strategy, their own purpose through this, and then connect them with others, right? To find like the right kind of communities. I think as the days and weeks and months go by, there's going to certainly be a shift in the way the model of coaching works in some different ways. But for the moment, I think from my perspective, like it's like important to really show up right now, whatever is necessary.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so a good majority of my clients also are in healthcare. And right now it's a balance between offering help and showing care, but also get out of their way. Because they're right now in the front, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. And so we're trying to balance between showing care, being available, being the trusted advisor, yet also understand and be sensitive to that they got a lot going on, right? And so that's the balance. For our non-healthcare clients, it's really about, like Alisa saying, you just showing up and being there on call. Call me whenever you need. Here's some great, discussions. Robert sent me something. I turned around and shared it with some of my clients and saying, hey, look, I have to think about these 2 things. So those are the type of things for us is value does not start until there's a breakdown. The breakdown is shifting.
Good point.
therefore being valuable.
And there's a tough tightrope for a lot of CEOs out there between, wanting to be valuable and open their doors and help. Like similarly, we've work. I've offered any of our clients, I'll talk to their exec team, whatever I can give of my time. But and then you have to, you have to be the best partner you can be, but then also balance protecting your business, right? If all of your clients asked you to continue to work for free and you have a payroll, right, and then you're putting you have a stakeholder, issue. So, we've been dealing with that. Some clients need to pause. So we figured out how to do that with them. But, I have to balance their needs and also my employees' needs. I think that will be those are the hardest ones. And that requires, empathy and a lot of emotional intelligence to navigate those situations.
Yeah.
When you're doing that, Bob, do you take a team approach to those decisions on how did you come up with a plan? Because that's the one that everybody's going to have to come up with, right? Everybody's going to get asked to delay payments. They're going to get asked to move services around. I mean, things are going to every business is going to be asked for some slack in some way or another, right? From a vendor.
Yeah, I think it's got to be a trade-off. What's interesting is I jumped on a call this morning in which that was being discussed, and the solution that I was about to suggest had already been suggested by 3 people, right? So I think we are following our core values in terms of, hey, we'll be a good partner, but so in this case, they needed to pause for 2 months, and we extended their contract for 2 months later, and just let them stop overnight. I think stuff that we felt is fair to both parties. Because it can't be all one-sided, right? I can't turn into a nonprofit, or else we can't pay our people. So right. I think this is where anyone in the coaching business will probably earn their stripes in the next couple of months, really helping CEOs with these solutions to say, I want to help you. What we've tried to always take the approach with, like we do with our people, is when it actually puts their business at risk, to put our business at risk, right? And try to balance those needs. And I apologize, but I do have to jump. So I'll watch the comments, and if I can answer anything for anyone, I will jump in. Rhett, thanks for doing this.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Bob.
Bye.
Bye, Bob. Yeah. And let me ask you guys. Let me see if I can switch up without. You know what? I'm not going to mess with it, because then we'll have a break. I was going to try to get rid of the blank space, but that was an interesting question. How do we, if this goes on and on and on, people are going to get more anxious, right? How do we continue? I mean, at some point, people are going to get more and more anxious. How do we keep that? How do we stop that from happening? I know we've been talking about a lot of things, but at some point you've got to go deeper, right? You've got to have, you got to do, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I feel like we're in uncharted territory. And what does this look like a month from now? When you've done your town halls, you've made some tough decisions. People are going to get tired of the same old message.
Well, I think the good news is the message is going to change, because the situation is very dynamic and quite fluid. So the message is going to change quite a bit. And I think, actually, Mo really said it earlier around agility and the ability to be agile and to shift gears. I don't know if people are going to get more and more anxious. I just don't know. I think that this uncharted waters, like you said, right now, in some ways is the biggest shock to the system. And we will probably get sort of attenuated to it. And then there'll be a different situation that will emerge. So I think it's about, really making sure that you're continuing to have your finger on the pulse of your people, trying to get ahead of it by connecting with your peers and outsiders and coaches to kind of say, like, what else is going on out there, to try to get in front of it a little bit. And then I would say to everybody, leaders, executives, employees, everybody should be thinking about, how do I be proactive in my circumstances? How do I do lifelong learning? How do I sharpen my skills, get more valuable? The leader should create the environment for that, but people need to be responsible for their own skills and continuing to build themselves during this very strange time.
Yeah, that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity for, as a leader, right, to offer something. this is a great time to do that because
Definitely. And there's
Not
tons of free stuff. So like, it's like every, it could be a ritual every Wednesday from 2 to 4, we all do our video learning, or we have our peer group, discussions around, our personal goals or professional goals. Like, there are different ways to do that. And it costs zero money there's so much out there that you can do to help you proactively build your skills, and leaders can totally create the environment and role model that. That's awesome.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
So, Rhett, so one thing to think about is also the metaphor of that. So I lived through war, and I also lived through hurricanes in Florida, right?
Yeah.
This is a hurricane. This is not a war.
Yeah, good point.
Right? So in a way of hurricane is that a hurricane is going to pass, how long is it going to take, but then there will be sunshine on the back end of it, right? This is a limited shock to the system. This is not a infinite. Already Asia is coming back from that cycle. It's a peak. And now the question is, how long of a peak? Is it a few weeks or is it extended? And eventually it's going to pass.
Right.
And it's continuing to kind of help the team of saying that we will, there will be sunshine at the end of this will pass. It's a matter of what do we do while we're in it.
Yeah.
And then when you're inside the storm, you're caring for each other, you're taking care of things, you're shoring up everything so that your business and your people survive through it. And I think we need to keep that in perspective. This is not, a downhill that we're never going to recover from it. It is shall pass. It's just we don't know how long.
Yeah.
Is it a good time for an executive CEO, C-suite person that's got all this going on? Is this a good time to seek out a coach?
Of course, it's always a good time to seek out a coach.
I agree. I think so too. But
yeah, but certainly now more than ever. I mean, you need a partner on this journey. By the way, I think it's a good time to seek out a coach and a mentor and a peer support group and a younger mentor inside of your organization. I mean, there's no sort of place that's not helpful to find perspective and a sounding board, and to keep your ear to the wall, but also to be able to have, when we talk about coaching, it's about having safe space to talk out what you want to do, and then having a third-party perspective. Some of the CEOs I work with have definitely had moments of anxiety and real fear. And so then they're acting irrationally. And I know that I've been able to help them, sort of just smooth out, you can still have your fear, but not to act from your fear and decision make from your fear.
This is the time to also be vulnerable and ask for help.
Yes.
There's a lot of leaders that have gone through hardships. It's, believe it or not, it's always a cycle. And so this is the time to say, okay, I haven't been through a cycle, so who can help me think through that cycle? And like Alisa said, it's find mentors, find people that have lived into different paradigm of they operate at a smaller scale, bigger scale, online, offline, and try to figure out how you can do it.
Is it okay to do that within your organization? Because then you're becoming vulnerable to an extent, right? You're saying, I don't have all the answers, or these are the big question marks I still have. So, I mean, should you seek that counsel outside, or is it okay to have that be a little bit vulnerable and say, okay, I don't have all the answers, but this is, that's okay. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, for me, that's leadership, right? Leadership is really saying, I don't have all the answers. That's why I have a team and I need help really figuring some of that out. It's some other things that you want to go to the outside for either expertise or confidential conversation of, look, I don't want to be, uncertain or show up, or I don't know how I'm showing up and I need help by an outside observer that's willing to tell me, Mo, you thought you were communicating effectively, but you're not. You were scaring the people more than when you're calming them. Well, nobody on the team is going to tell me that.
Right.
So this is where, I would want Alisa to kind of be my, my coach of helping me think through that. So it's an all-in conversation. Is ask for help. Don't fear about trying to figure out all yourself.
Yeah, agree 100%. And the courageous can afford to be vulnerable. That's how I see it. Like, that's what courageous leadership is right now. Now, Rhett, I'm going to have to sign off in a minute.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to wrap it up because
Great.
we're getting close to an hour. And so thank you guys so much. This has been enlightening, and I hope we've been able to help. We did get some questions that are long questions, and so I'm going to have to read those and answer those online. But thank you guys so much. This has been very valuable. And any last words, any last parting advice?
I like the idea of the hurricane. We will get through this. No matter what, this is temporary, and we're navigating sort of step by step. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's an unusual situation. People don't know what they're doing. And thanks, Rhett, for convening this forum.
Yeah. This is the opportunity for our leadership, right? You don't get this many of those opportunities where you have everybody's paying attention to what is mattered the most. It's just that this is the time to also really bring our best self and really connect in on a human being side, not just the human doing side. And that's, and we shall show up on the other side of the curve. It will go back. We'll be better through it than when we started through that. So, and happy to answer any questions or anybody afterward. If you want to send us some of those questions, happy to answer that.
Yeah, me too.
Best of luck.
That was a great way to end it. I think looking at it as an opportunity, to shine and to really step up and be the person and the leader your team needs. I think that's a great way to end it. But thank you guys. You guys have a great day. We're in weird times, everybody. Hope you got something out of this today. Please respond online and go out and continue doing good work and figuring it all out. That's what we're doing the next couple of months, is just figuring it out. So go do that, and thank you for your time today.
All right. Get better.
Everyone.
Take care.
Bye.